Good morning all together. Welcome to our third session, Let's Talk Science. Today we look more into the questions of digitization in production. Digitization is of great importance to increase efficiency in production, to set up new business models or to develop new functions for the user. And today Mr. Martin Weber will give us some insights to the EuProGiant project, focusing on the question how SMEs become sovereign data holders. I think this is of great importance, as especially SMEs are challenged with the transformation into a more data-driven production environment. Mr. Markus Weber is Head of Research at the PTW, the Institute for Production Management Technology and Machine Tools at the Technical University in Darmstadt. And that's what it is about today. He coordinates the EuProGiant project from the German side for the domain of manufacturing. What EuProGiant is all about, he will give us some details. So Mr. Weber, now we are keen to learn more about the possibilities that can be achieved using the Gaia-X infrastructure, and the floor is yours. If there are any questions, please put them in the chat and we will pick them up after the presentation of Mr. Weber. Mr. Weber.
So thank you very much, Mr. Schäfer. Thank you very much for the invitation to this webinar. We're proud to present our project here again. And we will focus today on the question how small and medium-sized companies can become sovereign data holder in the context of Gaia-X, in the context of data ecosystems. Our project is named European Production Giganet, and this is motivation and ambition in both ways, because we face huge changes starting with Industry 4.0 and going further in new web technologies that arise at the horizon, and both will be connected in the future. So in 5 or 10 years, we will face new connectivity possibilities. And today I'm going to present what does this mean for you and how you can become sovereign. So my name is Markus Weber, and yeah, I'm the project coordinator of the Austrian-German project. We have 16 partners from both countries, and we are situated or located in the manufacturing domain. So let's have a look. To our agenda for today, we have 3 parts. First is what is Gaia-X and why do we need it? So mostly understanding. Second, the development of Gaia-X related business cases, business models. So how can you create value with it? And third, experience. So I'm going to show you what our first demonstrator illustrates in the context of Gaia-X, how connectivity might change and be used. So first of all, the CTO of Gaia-X stated we have to unlock the potential of data sharing. And what does he mean, Pierre Grandlier, with it? So the benefits of data sharing, I want to present here 3 numbers. Those were investigated, taken out a survey in 2020. So in 2020, there was also the data strategy of the EU Commission. So this is a very important year for the upcoming changes. So the answers were 56% of the companies said, well, for us, higher value creation speed through transparency in the supply chain, that would be a benefit for us. Or other 51% said faster and more innovative product development is one benefit for us when we are able to share data. And another number, 42% said, well, new and advanced customer services and product experiences, this is one benefit for us. But to unlock the potential of data sharing, we have to overcome barriers to data use. So another survey has been taken out in 2018, and here we have also companies that were asked, what are your barriers? Multiple answers it could be given, and for example, some said access limitations. We face access limitations to data, to models, to services, and here 66% were of this opinion. And other said, for example, high costs. So we face high costs when it comes to data sharing or cloud connectivity. We have the barrier obstacle of interoperability. There's a high demand of knowledge where data is located. And what we also see here, unfair conditions. We want to be connected in a fair and transparent way that represents our European values. So in 2020, the data strategy of the EU Commission introduced the need of a single market for data. So in Europe, we want to have a free flow of data, and therefore we introduce the term data spaces, and we will have data spaces in different domains. And we as EuProGigant are located in the domain of industrial and manufacturing. But what we see here also, there will be a data space for finance issues, for automotive, for public sectors, and also for science and research, or energy, circular economy, or even health. So we will have a movement in Europe that will foster interoperability and the portability of data, be more independent of the systems we use in order to connect those different domains as the overall vision of the EU Commission. So why is it motivated to define the European way of a data space of cloud connectivity? Yeah, because of hyperscalers, of the actual situation, because we all know hyperscalers are proprietary, they are mostly non-transparent, they want to integrate new customers, but they don't offer highly interoperable functionalities. So the question arises, who owns data, who can access or even copy your data? So we have those issues of the security of data, non-personal and even personal data. And why is this now relevant for Europe? The European situation is that we have highly or strong requirements towards digital sovereignty. So this means the responsibility is with the data holder, is with the data generator. And here comes into play that small and medium-sized companies make up most part of the European non-financial enterprises. So 99% in Europe are SMEs of the non-financial enterprises. And when we take a deeper look in the manufacturing employees, so 64% of those are employed within small and medium-sized companies. This number is from 2017. So again, to go deeper in the problem of a vendor lock-in, I named it here quite provocative, come in and stay locked in. There is another Gartner symposium here where I took out this statement. So as high as 95% of business and IT leaders say that cloud billing is the most confusing part of public cloud adoption. So we remember on the first slide we had already mentioned high costs are one of the barriers. and even not only high cost, but also intransparent, confusing billing systems of cloud providers limit today's data sharing. And to highlight this, I took out those numbers here from Hostime, and we distinguish Ingress and Egress. So what does it mean? Egress in the world of networking implies traffic that exits an entity or a network boundary, while Ingress is traffic that enters boundary of network. So focusing on Egress, so once you have entered your data in cloud service providers infrastructure, when you want to take it out or move it to another cloud provider, you have to pay egress prices. And for example, for 25 terabytes with Amazon Web Services, it's around $2,000. With Microsoft Azure, it's also around $2,000, and also with Google. And there are even different prices for different locations of cloud service providers. And so this starts the process of confusing and intransparency. So you become highly independent of the system, of the cloud system you choose. And this is why we still have only 30% of companies that use cloud services. And most companies still stick to on-premise or in-house data centers. So digital sovereignty, this is what is needed in the future, but how we can implement it and what does it mean in the first stage. So quickly summarize, your machines, your processes, this means your data and your opportunity to make business. So you can decide who can access your data and even which data and for how long. So you set up your data policy rules. You set up a sophisticated data governance for your data. And here Gaia-X comes into play. Gaia-X is a framework of control and governance. Gaia-X defines within its framework a set of policies and rules. And those policy and rules start from the basement of the European legal framework. So for the first time, we are able to identify partners that are clearly located in Europe, that stick to the European law when it comes to the data storage, for example. We obtain transparency, controllability, portability, and interoperability because Gaia-X is a European-wide network. It is open source software that is developed, and those software can then be applied to existing cloud and edge technology. So even when you want to stay within your own data center infrastructure, you can use it. You just have to adopt those certain specified software functionalities to become a valuable player in Gaia-X ecosystems. But Gaia-X is not only the only one who's developing frameworks for data spaces. There is, for example, from 2015, the International Data Spaces Association. There is a European project of common interest for cloud and infrastructure services. And there's the network Euclidia of small and medium-sized cloud providers in Europe. So we try to figure out what framework is developing in which way, but we as EuProGigant, we focus on Gaia-X developments. And here, to introduce EuProGigant, we want to enable a fair, inclusive, and transparent ecosystem. So we relate to Gaia-X and its trust and compliance framework. We lead by examples, so real-world use cases from the industry. And we are an open and inclusive network. So when it comes to questions, so when you want to know more, when you want to get in contact with our project partners, do not hesitate. We offer talks, so don't hesitate. But what is the vision of EuProGigant, the European production Giganet? This picture shows it quite in a way. It interconnects partners from different expertise in a new way using internet technologies of the third development phase of the internet. And within the companies, we demand highly connected machines, shop floor, enterprise systems, manufacturing systems. So Industry 4.0 is the basement, and on top of this, we can adapt Gaia-X functionalities with the internet-based technologies to get a high dynamic connectivity, and this opens up new business, new value creation. For example, machine manufacturers want to know how their machines are used in the real world production environment, and so we enable for the first time the user group to share data from their machines, and they are sovereign in such a way that they choose under which conditions they want to share their production data with the machine manufacturer, for example, or together in a collaboration, the machine manufacturer, the user group, and some suppliers can say we use the same machinery, so let's sell in a way our data in order to enable a data analyst to develop a service that can be consumed by those entities in order to have a highly sophisticated predictive maintenance service. So the vision of EuProGiant is a secure, resilient, and sustainable manufacturing ecosystem where you create value with partners that you choose, so highly digital sovereignty is enabled. And what does this now mean for you as a small and medium-sized enterprise? So when you have large amounts of data, you are in control of it, and take this as an opportunity to rethink your data governance and your digital strategy. You can discuss the monetization of your data. What data is valuable in which conditions, and with some partners the value might even change. So how can you set up new value streams on it? And then third, take a look in the existing or developing ecosystems, and you can support those ecosystems when you collaborate with those partners in order to bring in your requirements for the ecosystem formation. And here the term federator as the ecosystem provider in such a way will play a huge role, and you should not let pass this opportunity now. And last but not least, you have to rethink, reinvent business models. And now we will have a look how this data business model topic changed within the last, I would say, 20 years. So first there were classic business models. You produce a product, you sell it using different ways, and you have sporadic customer contacts. And the growth comes with your profit margins. So pricing is relevant for one customer contact. Then we have dynamic business models where you have, for example, subscription business models and income methods, and this means you have now continuous exchange of services, regular contact with your customers, and the growth can now be linked to the usage of your services or your products, and you can monitor it and reuse it for the better development of your products. We call it then value-driven pricing. And when we take a deeper look in the recent platform-based business models, there we have to distinguish two forms. First, the transaction-centric digital platforms that brings suppliers and demanders together, that enable exchange of trade, enable trading of goods, services, or even data, and the platform mediates these transactions. Then we have the data-centric platform where we provide access to data as an overall central system, but just recently those platforms may be more and more placed decentrally by certified and independent partners. This is where Gaia-X tries to push the development into. And until today, for now, we know some examples for data-centric digital platforms. For example, the Adamos or the Siemens MindSphere in the manufacturing industry, that are centric platforms that are formed by a smaller collaborating group of companies, and they are have high interest in the growth of their platform usage through data-centric offerings. But once you use those platforms, you are linked, you are dependent of the business model behind it, and of the also a partner of the companies that implement those platforms. So here we have the huge change towards dynamic and decentralized business models that interconnect even different domains, and we won't use, or we are not in need of platforms as a marketplace anymore. This means that you can, from your infrastructure, from your personal data centers, you can be a part of future ecosystems and get in touch with different companies and partners worldwide. So requirements for a successful Gaia-X related business model, this means that you define and formulate sustainable value proposition for each participant. This again, remember the first slide with the first numbers I presented. One barrier was unfair conditions. In Gaia-X related business models, where you collaborate with different and several partners, fair conditions, a fair divided value proposition is one central aspect here. And then again, you can be system independent. You use your technical design, you use your IT infrastructure, you decide which cloud service providers you want to choose, and what is then necessary to become sovereign. You have to adapt to those software components that are delivered by Gaia-X, by the Gaia-X developments. And there's another requirement for the aspect of information sharing data or services. You might use data connectors, and those data connectors just to give you an example, there are one developed with the Eclipse Foundation. There's one data connector from the Industrial Data Spaces Association, and you also might use a token-based or attribute-based access authorization to data. So in the end, what will be existing as a new data and infrastructure ecosystem? This picture shows that Gaia-X develops the trust framework, so a legal common basement for trust and transparency. Therefore, the Gaia-X Association for Data and Cloud develops two basic services, the registry service and the compliance service. Those services are used to identify partners, to state and verify that they are compliant to the trust framework, so that, for example, fulfill requirements for the trust level number 3, the highest defined level by the Gaia-X. So only European located companies can achieve this level of trust, and this means for you, your data is under control in Europe and cannot be accessed by any other parties. And then on top of it, we will have different ecosystems with different ecosystem architectures, and you might be a participant of one ecosystem or of another, or even a participant of multiple ecosystems. And then we have the interoperability of those ecosystems with an extended governance. And the extended governance means that you have certain identity. This means digital identity. We call it decentralized identity. So it's kind of your personal ID card for the internet of the future. There we also have the term of self-sovereign identities. So you decide what you want to present as an information in your identity. And those are the developments that Gaia-X fosters and drives in Europe. And we now change a bit here at this stage, because we have now the vision and understanding of EuProGigant. We have the understanding of Gaia-X, of ecosystems, but how do we create business? And here we developed in our project the method from problem sets towards a Gaia-X business model. And first, what you might use is the systematic problem solving. You identify problems or certain digital processes that you want to accelerate, that you want to automate, or you identify needs of information that you want to have or consume in the future, or you identify which data values the most that you can create business with. And so we define the first Gaia-X fit. The first use case is then placed here at this stage. Then you enter the phase of solution design, where you define your value proposition, and not only yours, as I said, also the value proposition for your participants in your ecosystem. And you reach the stage of the business model canvas, saying what is the revenue mechanism, what is the value proposition, what are key partners, what are key technologies to use. And here then you enter the third solution development phase, where you iteratively take those steps towards the implementation of the Gaia-X business model. And now I'm going to present the validation platform as one of 4 examples of the European Production Giganet project. Here we have the diagram for the use case description, where we see that we operate here together with a machine operator, a maintainer, machine tool OEM, with an analytics provider and a storage provider. And why are those connected here in one use case? Well, we want to monitor the condition of our machines, of our components that are installed in our machines, and even the monitoring of the process. And we have clear value propositions. We have a shared use of test benches and machine data for condition monitoring. We have faster ramp up of condition monitoring applications because, for example, smaller and medium-sized companies do not have a lot of machine tools. They only have one of one type, for example, and so it is better to connect with other machine operators that use the same machine to create a larger database that is then provided towards the analytics developer that maybe creates an AI service. And those AI service can then be adapted in the machine environment of the machine operator. Here's some impressions of our current developments. We start with a smaller machine tool used in the educational area of companies, but once it works with those smaller machines that have real machine tool controls, for example, from Siemens or Beckhoff here, once it works with those machines, we are able to scale up with real machinery in real production sites. And until 2025, we will get to this stage. So here the result of our business model canvas for the validation platform. We defined our key partners: machine tool OEM, storage provider, analytics provider. And what is maybe interesting here, the revenue stream. So we have a subscription model defined as a suitable mechanism. We can subscribe to the number of connected machines. We can even subscribe to the number of produced parts, or subscribe to the number of hours of usage of those machines in order to create our revenue stream. And another one would be a partial compensation by payment. And this means that within the connectivity, the cross-company connectivity, we log our transactions, and partially monthly, for example, we send out our bill and create by this our revenue. Now the validation platform, I want to finish here with an introduction in our demonstrator. We used the presented machine tools that we saw on the picture and combined it with a minimum viable Gaia development that has been developed by the Delta DAO. This is a small startup, a young company within the Gaia-X environment, the Gaia-X context. And those were the first who developed Gaia-X base or Gaia-X principle ecosystem using a distributed ledger technology. So this is why we have here Ocean as the related protocol for the distributed ledger technology. Why did they use the DLT? Because distributed ledger technology using Ocean protocol already comes with certain functionalities that are needed with Gaia-X. And so we were quick and fast for a first demonstrator. And this gives you now insight of how this demonstrator works. So we will start on the left side with the CNC Profi Trainer. This is the machine tool we just saw. And the problem statement is we want to monitor the process regarding tool condition. We want to get a message if our tool is worn out and if we have to take out a tool change. The value proposition is that we define a clear quality statement for the workpiece. And here, therefore, the objective is to acquire process data. The data is queried from the machine integrated OPC-UA server, and it is forwarded to the IoT platform and also the Gaia-X portal. The IoT platform here is located in the infrastructure of the A1 digital exascale. It is the Cumulosity's IoT platform of the software AG. And now when we have gathered and aggregated our data to small data sets, those data is then be represented by a virtual representation. We see it here in our Gaia-X portal. The digital representation is called self-description, and the data analytics provider, for example, then searches for the data in the portal in order to consume the data of different machine tool providers. They will enter into a negotiation process of terms and conditions. So we will have electronically legal contract. Then the AI digital, the AI service provider will create an AI service. And again, this created AI service, which is an AI model, is again represented virtually by a Gaia-X self-description saying what is the input, what is the output of the AI model. And we, as a machine operator, can now search for those algorithms as service offerings in the Gaia-X portal and consume the algorithm. And what is important here, there is a principle called compute to data, and the principle of compute to data allows to be a sovereign data holder. So the data of your processes of your machine never exits your infrastructure if you don't want to, but the algorithm comes into your infrastructure and is analyzing the data in your infrastructure, and after having analyzed the data, the algorithm is then deleted, or according to the terms and conditions, may be used for a long-term data analysis. So this is the demonstrator of the validation platform, and here a quick view. Again, the so-called self-description is then mandatory to be interoperable and transparent in the Gaia-X ecosystem. And to conclude, what you can do now after my presentation, take your time to revise your digital strategy, define your use cases, rethink your data governance in your company. So that means prepare yourself for the future of the highly connected interoperable data infrastructure, and start to collaborate and innovate with your trustworthy partners. Here in the EuProGigant project, those 16 partners are in B2B business relations, and they have a common trust, and this enables the first data sharing and information sharing. So start with your trustworthy partners here and try to connect with Gaia-X related projects and partners to not be surprised in the future, to not miss any developments. Yeah, and last but not least, you can try the demonstrator out by yourself by clicking on this link. So thank you. This was my presentation, and I hope you got some nice insights.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Weber. This was very interesting, and I think a very state-of-the-art question that SMEs have to deal with, how to get onboarded in this digital environment. A question came up because that's what also we see when we talk to our members or talk with our members about their customers, about the openness. We are talking about SMEs, about the openness of users as well as suppliers to share data, because it contains also their know-how. Even if it is trusted, stored somewhere and trusted used, at the end of the day, it contains know-how. What is discussed about this aspect?
Yeah, I tried to make it more clear. Here we have a functionality integrated in our demonstrator. This is called compute to data, and this principle allows not to transfer, not to really share huge amounts of data, but only make it usable in your own infrastructure, so the data does not exit your company-related IT infrastructure, but the algorithm and the algorithm comes to analyze your data in your infrastructure, and then the algorithm may be deleted, and you only get the information from it that you wanted to have. So in our case of the tool condition monitoring, we only get the answer, it was okay or not, in order to take out a tool change in the next production state, for example. So those principles will develop in the future, and even for AI modeling, for example, there are some mechanisms called distributed learning or transfer learning, and by developing those principles, we will enable high data protection and knowledge protection for companies.
Okay, thank you. Another question. You had been talking about monetizing and also the costs in the beginning when we talk about the hyperscalers. Well, what costs does a SME has to foresee when using this?
This is quite interesting. I can tell from our demonstrator, we are using those principles or those mechanisms already, and we only had to adopt our edge device with certain functionalities, and therefore we integrated some services that we got from our partner Delta DAO, and the Gaia-X association is developing again those services for more spreaded use. So you can stick to your edge and cloud service providers. You can use your IT infrastructure that already exists. You just have to adopt certain services, and this is why it is important to discuss the changes with your IT team or IT department. This is more the question, who is responsible for the data governance in your company? Where should be those services located, and who guarantees the right function of those services?
Okay. Final question is the data analytics is done by a service provider. So his know-how is increasing constantly, whereas maybe the know-how of the SME is, staying on the same level or even decreasing because he does not know why a specific result achieves or comes up. So how has this been looked at to make sure that using such a concept also fulfills my need to constantly upgrade my understanding of a process, of of a condition problem, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, this is interesting. The AI service provider, in our case, for him it was the first time dealing with the tool condition monitoring. So we had to explain to him a basic concept of our processes. And we have to explain to him, well, those data from our knowledge is important. For example, the spindle current, the spindle torque, or even the control deviation of the position control. And here, yes, of course, the data, the AI service provider increases his knowledge, but also the small and medium-sized company or the machine operator has to deal with those topics, and by the discussion with other experts, it increases his expertise as well. And it is clearly said that no one can develop high innovative products in the future when we do not start to collaborate and in some cases open up a bit.
Thank you. I think this was also important, especially as in your title mentioned is focused on the SMEs and to get them on board and to give them the possibility to develop their business and also their functionalities supporting their customers. So thank you also to those who are with us today. The next Let's Talk Science will be end of August once again. Again, we will pick up the question of digitization, looking into the benefits of digital twins. So have a nice day and see you in 4 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schäfer. Thank you, dear audience. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.